Welcome to Coach's Corner podcast by Well at Humana, where we talk all things health and fitness with an authentic, informative, and real-world lens. This year, we're personalizing the podcast a bit more with the people behind it. Each month, we'll introduce you to a new Exos fitness coach on our team, where we'll dive into their personal stories through fitness, specialties, passions, and more. Welcome to Coach's Corner podcast. We're excited to welcome Coach Jason McCleery to the podcast this month, diving a little bit deeper into his journey to fitness and what he enjoys doing outside of work. Welcome, Jason.
Thank you for having me. I have wanted to be on this podcast for years.
I don't know if I believe that. A little bit of background on Jason before we get into it. Jason's a fitness coach here at Well at Humana, training clients one-on-one, performing health assessments, and instructing some of our group exercise classes like Hit and Run. I hear that's your favorite.
By far.
He also received a Master of Science in Applied Sports Science from East Tennessee State and is a certified strength and conditioning specialist and certified USA weightlifting coach.
Yes. Just a level one.
Just level one.
Just level one.
Amy's going to kick us off in the only way we know how with our rapid fire questions. Why don't you start us off, Ames?
All right, Jason. So I got some questions. They're like quick one answer things. And you just need to say the first thing that comes to your head. Quick. We keep it moving. Are you ready?
Deal.
Okay. Favorite exercise?
Snatch.
Do you prefer breakfast, lunch, or dinner?
Breakfast.
Sweet or salty snacks?
Sweet.
Favorite snack?
Nerds.
Last place you traveled?
Morristown, Tennessee.
Where is that?
It's in Morristown.
Yeah, it's like an hour north of Knoxville, Tennessee, and
Okay.
there's a giant state park there, and it's really beautiful. And there's a huge lake.
Oh.
Yeah, it's really
I've
pretty.
agreed with all of your answers until the nerds.
Do you like nerds or like the nerd clusters? Have you
Nerds.
had those?
Straight up nerds.
Oh, see, I love the
No.
clusters.
Nerds.
It's like a lot of sugar.
They're so good, though.
Well, that's the point.
I know, but I want some chocolate. I want something out of the sugar.
See, I don't like-
Sometimes I want the straight sugar rush,
Uh-uh.
but
I
I
don't
do
like
normally
chocolate.
prefer chocolate. That's weird.
I don't like chocolate.
But that's a thing. Like, you either like chocolate
Yeah.
or you love chocolate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait,
or you don't
No,
like
I don't
Yeah.
like either.
Yeah,
no,
you
I don't like either of
I
those.
like
no.
it or you love it.
You either don't like it or you love it.
All right. The next place you want to travel.
Oh my gosh. Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay. Preferred way to relax.
Relaxing. Either a hike or just laying on the couch and watching TV.
Nice. Favorite animal.
A peregrine falcon.
So specific.
Yeah.
What's your coffee order?
I don't drink coffee. I don't like coffee at all.
Do you have any kind of caffeine source that you put in your body?
Rain energy drinks.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Not sponsored.
But I would be willing. Yes.
Okay.
I'll say anything you want.
Mountains or beach?
Mountains.
Morning person or night owl?
Night owl.
One daily practice you swear by?
Lifting weight.
And do you collect anything?
Wow. My wife would probably say that I collect discs for disc
Okay.
golf. But I would say she collects leggings. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Girl, same.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't collect them on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I just keep getting them.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
sentimental. It's just like,
Yeah. The
Hoarding.
pile keeps growing, but I'm not like, look at this pile.
yeah.
I'm like, oh, look at this pile.
Yeah, Amy always puts that question in there.
I'm always curious. Like, I want someone to be like, yes, I collect rabbit hair or something. I don't know. Like,
Oh, no.
I just don't know. Like, I feel like that's an interesting question, though, to dive into. Someone might have a very interesting stamp or
Yeah.
coin collection.
Yes.
I used to collect those state quarters
Oh.
when they were coming out.
I did
The
that
ones you
too.
can
The 50
make?
state, and you poke it in the state.
Yes, that.
Yeah,
I had
I
like
had
a
that.
green booklet
Yep.
that my bank
I had
gave
that.
me. And whenever a new state quarter came out, because they didn't all come out at once.
Yeah.
They like came out in waves. And I would go to the bank and be like, do you have the new Nevada quarter?
Oh, that's
and then I
cool.
put them in this
Yeah.
little booklet. Yeah.
Huh. That's like a fun activity.
And
I
Beanie
like that
Babies. I
question.
used to have Beanie Babies.
Oh,
my
mine was
grandma had
Webkins.
so many. I had so many Webkins.
We every time my mom would go to Hallmark, I'd be like, can we get a new webkin?
And they were freaking expensive too.
They were,
They were like
were.
$20 for like an animal this big.
Yes, but really cool how you could
So cool.
register it online.
Yeah,
Indeed.
All right, Jason, let's dive right in. Tell us a little bit about where your health journey began, whether from the coach side of things or just being an athlete being an athlete in the gym.
So, in high school, I I was extremely uncoordinated. Like if you tossed me a basketball, I would miss it. So all I did was run. I ran track and cross country, and then I went to college, did the same. But when I got to college, I looked around, and everyone else was like huge. And I was the skinniest person I knew. And I was like, well, I should lift weights, and I should eat more food. I should try to get bigger. And then I assume, like most exercise science students, I only joined the major so that I could learn how to become stronger myself. Like I didn't get into it to coach or help people or train. It was like totally selfish. So that sort of blossomed into, well, now that I'm leaving college, I don't really have any skills outside of exercise science and the knowledge that I've gained. So I guess I need to try to find a job. And working with athletes seemed the coolest. Because they're the ones you see on TV, right? They're the ones who are like popular on campus. So I was like, okay, I'll try to coach athletes. And that sort of blossomed into a career that has pushed me to end up here at Humana.
What was your first job in the career?
First job was with a company called Ski and Snowboard Club Vail. And it was with skiers and snowboarders age 6 to the Olympic team.
That's crazy.
So they all came in at different times of the year. Lindsey Vonn, do you guys know that name?
That sounds familiar.
Incredible. She's like the greatest woman skier in American history.
I have heard the name.
Michaela Schifrin.
Yeah, I've heard that name.
I haven't heard that one.
Cool. So these were all athletes that were in our facility.
That's wild.
We were around all the time. Got a chance to watch them train. And I was mostly responsible for like high school level and college level aerial athletes. So in ski snowboard, there are racers and there are aerial athletes. And the ones that race are the ones that are on like the Olympics, and the ones that do aerial tricks are in like the X Games.
Okay.
Like half pipe, big mountain, they go off giant ramps, stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I worked with aerial athletes. And I was there for 2 years before I decided to go back to school and get my master's.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's like such a foreign thing to think about, being in a landlocked state. Like we don't have. I lived in Wisconsin for a little bit, so I saw like snow there, but I can't even imagine. Like I'm sure kids, like you said, start out as young as 6 doing those kinds of things.
They start competing at 6.
Okay.
They start skiing, snowboarding at like 2 or 3.
Yeah, it's like my brother got handed a basketball at age 4. Like
Yeah.
they're
That's
getting
wild.
handed a snowboard.
That is wild. All I know is the hot dog and the
fries,
pizza and fries.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know.
So like how did you apply strength training to that? Is there certain exercises they need to do to get better at their sport that you wouldn't do to a baseball player or something?
What a great question. So I feel like I could talk for like 20 minutes about like there's general strength training, there's specific strength training, right? I think the older an athlete is and the more elite they are, the more specific their strength training needs to be, and the younger they are, the more generalized it needs to be. So I think you'd be shocked. It was back squats, it was cleans, it was deadlifts, it was all the same stuff. And then the accessory lifts might be a little different, some more rotational stuff or some unilateral stuff that may not apply to, like if you had a basketball player, you need to teach them, and if they're, this game is specific, if they're like a center in basketball, they need to be able to like bang with other basketball players under the boards to get rebounds. So like they're still going to do back squats, but then their accessory lifts might be slightly different. And that's kind of how we viewed ski and snowboard. It was still the same big bilateral movements.
Which means bilateral.
Oh, what a great question. 2-legged movements, like
Okay,
squats
thank
and
you.
deadlifts, bench press with a bar, stuff like that. So yeah, it was all the same stuff. Just take their competition schedule into account and when they can be tired and when they can't be tired, and then you try to make them stronger. And like maybe even Donnie talked about this when he was a guest, but like if you have an athlete and they practice their sport simultaneously with lifting, then those two things will converge and hopefully make a better athlete.
And we've seen that, like, I'm sure there's studies out there to show, like, a basketball player that does do strength training versus a basketball player that does no strength training.
Right.
Yeah.
And these like highly technical sports, if they just lifted and they didn't practice their sport, they wouldn't get better at their sport.
Right.
Right? And if they just practice, they might get better at the technical aspects, but they wouldn't be getting better physically. So you try to get an athlete to do both of those at the same time. And ideally, if you do them well, you get a higher level athlete.
So what was the move from skiing and snowboarding then?
I applied to about 70 jobs while I was working there, and nobody called me back. And I said, I think I need a master's degree. So I applied to one in Tennessee and one in Colorado Springs. And the one in Tennessee said, yeah. So I split and went back to school.
Man, you were all over the country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No ties. You were like, I'll travel anywhere.
Before that, I lived in Virginia, Missouri.
Wow.
Yeah. Illinois.
Shoot.
Any particular state you like best?
Colorado, by far.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I haven't been as an adult, but I think I would like
shoot.
it.
Yeah, you got it. That's the only state I would move to from Kentucky.
Really?
I'm comfortable here, but I love Colorado. I love mountains.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty sick.
So what about your fitness journey?
What a great question. So
Dabbled in a few different things.
yeah, so I've done a lot of different sports. At first, I just lifted weights, and then I decided I wanted to compete in powerlifting, which if you don't know what powerlifting is, it's 3 lifts, and you get 3 attempts at each. Squat, bench, deadlift. And that's it, and you get 3 attempts, and the person with the highest total at the lightest body weight, they win. I was much larger than I am now. I was like 250-ish pounds when I competed, and I did that for maybe 2 years. And then I was like, hey, I kind of don't feel great at this body weight. Like I'm kind of miserable. I can't like run. I can't jump very high. Like I didn't feel athletic.
Yeah.
So I switched to Olympic weightlifting. If you don't know what that is, that's 2 lifts, and you may see it on the TV every 4 years, but you'll rarely ever see it on the TV any other times. But the lifts are the snatch, which in the snatch, you take the barbell from the ground to overhead in one fluid motion, and the clean and jerk, where you take the bar from the ground to the clavicles or the shoulders in one fluid motion, and then from there to overhead in one fluid motion. And you get 3 attempts at each. And there are a lot of rules in how the barbell must be lifted. If it's not lifted in a specific way, the lift doesn't count, etc. But I found my way into Olympic weightlifting because, to me, it seemed like the most difficult one to master in the strength sport world. I didn't really want to get into strongman because I would just have to get heavier and fatter. And I was like, I don't want to be fatter anymore. So I chose Olympic weightlifting. It seemed extremely technical and difficult.
For sure.
And because of the technicality, it was my opinion that like I could keep getting better or keep putting more weight on the bar without having to like gain weight. I could get more proficient at the movement. And I didn't think powerlifting was like that. I'm sure some elite powerlifters would disagree with me, and they'd be like, you can get better at the bench press without getting stronger. You could put more weight on the bar. It just really didn't interest me like weightlifting did. I was like, I don't have to get that much stronger to put more weight on the bar. At some point, I will reach a ceiling and I'll have to get stronger. But I was like, I can just work on technique for years.
Yeah, you're catching up with like the limits that you're placed from a technical standpoint. Like I've been doing Olympic weightlifting for a while, and my snatch is still, I know physically I could do more weight, but because it's so difficult and technical, your body like can't control that amount of weight. It's actually really frustrating.
It's also a mental aspect too. Like, how do I convince myself to dive under this new PR that if I miss, it could potentially land on top of my head? Which
That's what gets me. I don't want this.
Which happens to everyone at some point. Like, either you smack the bar into your face on a jerk, or like you miss a snatch behind you and it lands on your neck or your like lower back, or like it's not. The misses are ugly.
It's really fun though, is what Jason is saying.
Yeah, I loved it. I competed in it for like 5 years. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I still do those movements in my training, albeit at a much lower proficiency.
Yeah. So what drove you away from competing?
I started to get too invested in it, in that if I missed a lift on just a regular training day, it would ruin my whole day. I would go home. I would be in a sour mood. I would not want to talk to my wife. I would like just sit in the corner and sulk.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is so stupid. This isn't happiness.
Yeah.
Like this is actually the opposite. Like I'm striving for the opposite. Misery. So yeah, I did several years of that, and then after my last meet, I started the next training cycle, and I had a meet picked out. And I tried to drive to the gym one day, and I was like, wow, I have no interest in doing this. So I like texted my coach, and I was like, I think I'm done competing. I'm not going to do your program anymore. I'm just going to do whatever I want.
Yeah.
And then I became way happier.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to prioritize that mental health.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
If it's not fun anymore, what are you doing?
Yeah,
it
it
for?
wasn't fun at all.
And I think
Yeah.
it comes in waves too. Like there might be a day where you think Olympic weightlifting is fun again, you know? But like, because I'm just saying that because I recently went through kind of like a down slide of CrossFit. Like I was just like coming into the gym and just not excited like I used to be. It was making me more stressed and sad when I couldn't hit lifts that I thought I could hit. And so sometimes you just got to change it up. I had to do some Queen X classes. I had to go for a run, go for a walk, like just do different things to shock the body a little bit.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like it may be that you find it again one day.
If it means anything, the shoes that I competed in and the singlet I competed in are in a closet, and I haven't like sold them or like, so there's something in the back of my head that's like, maybe when I reach master's age.
There you go.
Yeah.
What's that, 35 and?
It's like 35, 40. There's like different.
Yeah.
But that's important. You realize when it just
Yeah.
ain't working because like so often, especially with just general exercise, you know, we tell people like, oh well, you just push through it. You know, even if you're not feeling it, get to the gym, just do what you can. But like athlete level is so it's such a different mentality. Like
that's super true.
Yeah.
Because like there is some discipline like going to the gym. Well, I just don't
Yeah.
enjoy it anymore. I'm just not gonna go. Like no, there needs to be a
like
level of discipline.
Yeah, when we talk about like athlete, we're talking about like burnout of like competing and that constant grind and that high level. Like you didn't just stop exercising cold turkey. Like at that point, you know, like you can shift out of that athlete competitive mode and still go for hikes, go for walks, be fit, be active, but like doing things that is good for your mental health too, and not just completely burning you out.
Yeah.
This topic is something I have a huge opinion on. Like a soapbox almost.
Okay.
By the way.
Oh, all right. I'm curious.
Yeah, let's
hear it.
Already?
Yeah.
Let's do
Okay.
it.
So like, okay. This is just a theory I have, this like philosophy. Okay, a long time ago, 1,000 years ago, when people, right?
Oh, I know where you're
this
going
is
with
going
this.
well,
This
right?
is- okay.
1,000 years ago, when people exercised, they didn't exercise. The word didn't exist. Like they either like hunted something or like chased it down.
Physically
and they like
active.
they like wrestled it to death,
Yeah.
or like they had to like climb a tree to get berries or stuff like that, right? So like now that doesn't exist. So we had to invent gyms and exercise, right? So like now we view activity as going to the gym when it doesn't necessarily have to be that. People come into the gym all the time and they're like, another day. Or I'm like, hey, how was your workout? And they're like, good, because it's over. And it's like, why don't you go find an activity you enjoy?
Yeah.
Why would you constantly do something you don't enjoy?
Yeah.
Choose something else. There are so many activities that are considered exercise
Yeah.
that people could do. And if we could just find the thing for people that they like doing, then we don't have to convince them and drag them and pull them by the horns or whatever they say, like lead a horse to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, gyms are just a way to get exercise, but they're not the only way.
They're just an outlet. Yeah, I love that. Like pickleball. Xavier took his client out and they played a game of pickleball the other day, and I thought that was like super cool. Like it doesn't, even your personal training sessions don't have to be in the four walls of our facility if like you want some fresh air for the day or something like that. So I think that's really cool.
There are 1,000 activities you could do
instead
of lifting weights in a gym.
Yeah. What do you do now then if Olympic weightlifting is kind of on the back burner? I'm seeing like individual sports are like a thread in your life.
Oh yeah, big time. So 4 days a week I lift, and if I'm not lifting or working, I'm usually disc golfing. Okay. And if you don't know what disc golfing is, it's okay. It's just like golf in that you want to play as little of it as possible.
Okay.
And you throw discs that are like frisbees, but like frisbees are really wide and deep, and these are smaller and they're very thin and aerodynamic, and they fly through the air really fast. And you sit on a tee box, and there's a basket that you have to get the disc into that's, I don't know, a couple 100 feet away, and you throw the disc as few times as possible.
Into the basket.
You have to get it into the basket. Sometimes, okay, so if you've never seen it, sometimes there are parks, and they have like a ring of metal and then chains hanging down with a basket underneath them. And one person once told me that they thought those were grills.
What?
Right? So yeah, those are the baskets that we are playing to.
Okay.
And there's a professional tour, and there are tournaments all around the country, and there are leagues, and it's a very silly sport that people take very seriously.
Yeah.
And I'm one of those people.
So how did you find disc golf?
This probably isn't the greatest to say on a health podcast, but in grad school one day, I wanted to sit outside and drink, and my friends wanted to go on a hike, and we compromised by going to Dick's Sporting Goods, buying discs and beer, not at Dick's, and we went and played disc golf. So I got to drink beer and do a very light hike, and they got to hike and be outside.
Nice.
So then I would just play with my friends casually. We would just, I don't know, play for dinner or something.
Yeah.
And I only had a couple discs, like a driver. There's tons of different types of discs. It doesn't really matter. There's putters, there's drivers.
But the same lingo as golf.
Yes, exactly. Like fairway drivers. Yeah, stuff like that. So, but then during the COVID shutdown, I was lifting in my garage and I hurt my back, and all I could do was play disc golf. And someone told me there was a tournament in the next town, and I was like, cool, a tournament. That sounds great. I wonder if I'm any good compared to anybody else. And turns out I was not good. But I was like, cool, now I have something to compete in.
Sure.
And it's just like weightlifting. Like, I can improve at this technically forever. Mm-hmm. Ever. There's never a thing that I won't have to get better at. So yeah, now I play a disc golf tournament, like sometimes 4 weekends out of a month, sometimes one. Over the last 2 weekends, I've had 3 tournaments.
Wow.
And my next one's July 13th. So yeah, I play a lot of disc golf. If I'm not lifting or working, I'm usually like in the woods with a backpack full of discs, walking to my next one and throwing it as hard as I can.
So how did you get better at this? Because it is, like, not obscure, but it's you know. Is this, like, something, do you have a coach for this? Do you just watch videos? You just keep doing it, and you're like, oh, it went this way. Maybe I'll do this now. Like, how do you improve at that?
So I didn't even know how bad I was until I watched some guy. We were playing very slow, and a guy came up behind us, and he's like, hey, can we play through? And we're like, yeah. And it came out of his hand so fast, and it went so far. And I was like,
that's what it's supposed to look like.
I didn't even know that was possible, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I went home. There are hundreds of YouTube videos on like how to throw a backhand further, how to throw a forehand further, how to there are 1,000 videos online of how to get better at this, how to putt better.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just kept buying discs. I bought a net. I have a net in my garage that I throw into, and I film myself. And then I just sort of like compare the film of me to a professional player. And I also have a basket in my garage, and I putt at it. Last night I threw 60 putts. Yeah. Which is like not that many. So yeah. And then there's a field across the street from my house. And if I need field work, I go out there with all my discs, and I pick a target or I put a cone somewhere and I throw at it. And I try to do like different types of throws that curve left, throws that curve right. So I almost like every other sport, I just keep playing it over and over again. Over and over and over again.
Do you want to go pro? Is this like a thing you can do?
I think I started far too late.
Really?
Yeah. So I started when I was like 30 years old.
That's a trend for, I feel like, all sports.
Yeah. And there are professionals on the tour that are like 16.
Wow.
Jeez.
And they've been playing longer than me. So like it's probably too late. I also have a job.
Yeah.
You know?
There's people out there that are devoting, this is their sole job.
Yes.
So they have
wild.
And they live in a van and they just drive from tour event to tour event. And if they cash and they make enough money, that's great.
Yeah.
If not, they coach for extra money or they sell discs with like their stamp or their name on them. And yeah, but do I want to go pro and be on the pro tour? Even if I wanted to, I don't think I could. But I don't think I want to. I have a wife and I want to like spend time with her.
Aw.
You know?
Shout out to Beth.
Shout out to Beth. Yeah.
So what I wanted to say earlier when you're talking about disc golf is like, I've always been told I need to find a hobby. So like I work and I work out, but working out has, it's not really a hobby for me anymore. It's just like embedded in my life, like just something I do. So I think this is like, it's really important for people to have hobbies outside of like what they do because it gives them mental clarity. It allows them to find a community of friends. So I'm just curious, like what benefits have you gotten from disc golf beyond like you've gotten better and you've.
Yeah. What a great question. So I moved to Louisville 3 years ago. A couple weeks in, I went and was playing a disc golf course by myself and I met these two dudes and like I still play rounds with them. We still sign up for tournaments. We drive to them together. So like my first friends in town were disc golfers. I would say I probably know more people in town that disc golf than I do people who don't. You know? So yeah, it's kind of all I do outside of work.
Yeah.
And being at home.
But it gets you outside
and yeah, an additional benefit is that I'm constantly walking. Like I get thousands of steps if I go play. Sometimes if there's 2 rounds in a day, if it's a tournament, I could get like 25,000 steps. So there's like a huge health benefit to it. Like I'm always outside walking.
So this is a pretty big course.
They can be. So like anywhere from maybe like 3 to 5 miles sometimes.
Oh wow. And you do 2?
Sometimes.
That's oh wow.
Yeah.
Shoot.
There's days when I get 3,000 steps, people. It's bad.
Right. So yeah, sometimes I'll get home from a tournament at like, I don't know, 5 o'clock at night and I'll lay on the couch the rest of the night. And it's like, I feel kind of lazy, but then I look at my watch and it's like, I have 27,000 steps.
Yeah.
And also my skin is like a different color now.
Yeah.
And I have bug bites everywhere. And I'm like.
That's probably something you deal with. Like you have a lot of off.
Yes.
Spring.
So like, if this is funny. Stephanie the other day was like, what's wrong with your leg? And I was like, it's either a bug, thorns, like it could be a stick that like scraped me. It could be anything. Like
so they're wooded, the areas you're walking.
Yeah. So sometimes they're open parks, but then most of the time to make them harder, they put them in the woods.
Yeah.
And like, say I go off the fairway, I catch a tree and it goes off into the fairway. I have to go find it. And like, if it's in a thorn bush, I have to get it.
So there's no pristine courses like in regular
They
golf.
exist, but no, they're not the.
Oh, okay.
They're not the main type.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can get pretty gnarly out there.
Huh.
Have you noticed any benefit from like the weightlifting and training that you do in disc golf, or is it more that technical element?
I think it's a technical sport.
Okay.
Like the biggest, furthest throwers in the sport, they're 6'5", 6'6". They have wicked long arms and they're rail thin. They might lift weights, but like, I think it's probably almost just injury prevention for them at that point because their limbs are moving at such violent speeds that like some of those guys, they throw a disc 85, 90, 80 miles an hour.
Jeez.
And like if they were to be larger, that would slow them down.
Interesting.
For me, though, my technique isn't super great. I usually but okay. Most of the time in a tournament, I am one of the further throwers in my group that I'm put with. And I don't think it's because of my technical skills.
Okay.
Like, I think it's because I work out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And a lot of people in this sport do not lift weights or exercise.
Yeah.
Well, and just that amount of walking. You
would think, right?
Yeah.
You'd think they'd be in better shape.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shoot.
But yeah.
Yeah, you're seeing more like distance in your throw because you've got some
Because I'm
power behind it.
Yeah.
and like I know how to like move my body
Yeah.
and use my legs to like get my arms to move faster.
That could be a niche for you, right? Like maybe you could be a strength and conditioning coach.
There
for
are
disc golfers.
plenty of those out there
Okay.
already. They beat me to that a long
well,
time
you said
ago.
some of them can't even walk up hills, so I thought maybe there's your opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay, Jason. So disc golf is a healthy habit you incorporate in your life. Sounds like you like being outdoors. Are there any other like favorite healthy habits that you incorporate into your day?
I keep trying to do yoga, but it keeps failing. I don't know why.
I'm the same. I feel so good after, but I don't really like doing it.
Right.
So it's really hard to do it.
What is it about like you don't like doing it too slow or
just
not mobile?
Yeah. I mean, I just want to I don't know. I'm still in that mindset of I want to burn calories.
For sure.
And if I'm going to spend an hour doing something, if I only have 1 hour in my day, I want to maximize
Yes.
it. But there are so many benefits to yoga and I feel so much better but it's mental kind of to me.
Yeah. This is the dumbest reason possible, but whenever I lay down on my yoga mat and I look at the floor around me and it's covered with dog hair,
Oh no.
I'm like, oh, I should probably vacuum. And then I don't do yoga because then I start cleaning.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So like that, I'm just realizing that every time I lay down to do yoga, I'm like, ugh. And then I have to clean the floor.
Okay, you need to get out of your house and try yoga somewhere else where you don't have to clean it. But yeah, I'm definitely with you, Amy. Like if I don't sweat, I don't feel like I've worked out, and I know that's wrong because you need some varying levels of
It is
intensity.
hard. I'll be holding these positions. But it also sucks because I'm not used to holding those positions. I'm like, oh, I can't hold my arms like this. Like this hurts, and it's dumb, which probably means I need to do it more to get better at it.
Yeah.
But I'm like, this sucks.
Yeah.
I'm like, gosh, you're holding that lungy thing for it feels like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm like, let's go.
Yeah.
14 breaths.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I keep trying to do yoga. I go on walks all the time, even when I don't disc golf. Just because I walk my dogs. But I don't know if I do that many healthy activities. Maybe like mindset, I journal sometimes.
Okay.
That's good.
But
Freely, or do you have prompts? How do you do that?
freely.
Okay.
You
I just try to
just pour your thoughts on the page?
Yeah.
Or do you recap your day?
That's what I try to do. I recap my day and I try to recap the emotions I felt with each event. Yeah.
That.
I don't know if it's working yet or not, but
I'm sure it's
I think
making
it's
you more
good.
self-aware,
Yeah.
right?
yes.
Yeah, I don't really think about emotion when I'm writing. I'm more so I think of it as more of when I'm looking back at my journal 10 years later, I want to remember what I did, but I should maybe approach it in that mindset of what am I feeling today? Why did that make me feel like that? Instead of I got to document this so that my future self thanks me one day.
Yeah. Yeah, I think putting my emotions helped me remember the event better. And also, if that event happens again, I can sort of compare the emotions from the last time.
Well,
do you read it though? So you're writing.
Oh no, not at all.
Yeah, that's
You
the
never
thing.
Well, see,
I don't either.
I feel like writing emotions is better for that release. I use Instagram if I want to look any big cool things I do. I put on Instagram and then I can scroll back and look at my little pictures.
It's
I
a
use
highlight
that.
reel for yourself.
Yeah,
for
that's
sure.
how I use it. I don't care about likes and stuff on my personal Instagram, but I like to see my little events.
Yeah, that's how my Whoop band. That's why a Whoop band is like a tracker, like a Fitbit or something. I used to wear one. I wouldn't do anything with the data.
Right.
I'd look at it, but then I wouldn't act on it. So I'm like, all right, why am I paying $30 a month for this? I just will ditch it, you know?
Yeah.
So that's kind of like how journaling is. I'm journaling, but I'm not going back and comparing, like, have I grown over the last year?
Well, I feel like that's in the moment. It's more of like a release in the moment.
Yeah.
Like if you're like angry about
it's
something,
more of an exercise.
I don't know that journaling. You really need to look back on it. I have a journal that's really cool, and it has a slot for 5 years. It's the same prompt at the top, and then it's got like lines for dates, so you can type it in. So like as I'm writing, you know, my 3 years later one, I can see what I wrote like right above it. Like, and it's funny because you can tell a progression of like what mindset you were in 3 years ago versus now. So I like that. And like, I don't like journaling. I don't want to write a lot. So like the fact that it's like a fun prompt and it's like 2 sentences, like it only gives you a couple lines. I can do that. Yeah,
that's awesome.
I get overwhelmed.
I love
so that's good that you're able to journal because I think that's important. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I haven't gone back and read it yet, but they exist.
Okay. Maybe
it would be interesting.
Yeah, maybe eventually.
Yeah.
All right, Jason, we're back to the soapbox moment. You've shared one with us.
Yeah.
Are there any others that you just feel so passionately about?
So that one I talked about is a big deal to me. Like getting people to do what they like as opposed to convincing them to do what they dread.
Sure.
But with that being said, like I think everyone needs to do some sort of strength training. And when people don't, it sort of just like gets under my skin. I want them to. Getting stronger makes everything easier. It makes stairs easier. It makes groceries easier. It makes walking to get your mail easier. Just lifting weights. I think everyone should strength train. Even though a little bit ago I said if you don't like it, you shouldn't.
There's a balance. There's something. There's some things that you know are good for you that
you gotta do.
Yeah, and you can strength train 2 days a week if you wanted, and you could still get stronger. So when people, I just think everyone should try to get stronger in some fashion.
It can increase your life.
Yeah.
Add years.
Or at least that's what
and
big
your quality
fitness
of
wants
life.
us to think.
Your quality of life.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sometimes forget that. Like I go to the gym now because it's second nature and all the squats I'm doing. I'm like, whatever. But it's helping me sit in a chair better or helping me walk upstairs or be able to walk up a hill and not die afterwards, you know?
Yes, exactly.
There's side benefits that you forget from exercising. And there's even, like, you get friends from it. There's just only pluses from exercise.
Yeah. Community, stuff like that. Yeah. Also, you get to test yourself and improve, hopefully.
For sure.
You know?
Indeed.
Any other healthy habits, Amy, that you incorporate in your life?
That I incorporate? Oh, shoot, I wasn't ready.
I know.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like I'm just all about balance. Like, I know things that I like to do. Like my boyfriend and I love to go out. We love to, go out to eat and stuff. But we also, like, if we're not going out to eat, we eat pretty healthy at home. We don't drink alcohol at home, really. We go for a lot of walks. So, like, I'm just all about balance. And, like, I've been working out for so long, like you. It's just, like, part of my day. It's just, like, something I'm going to do. So I really don't have to... Like, at this point, it's such a behavior in my life. It doesn't take a lot of willpower for me to do it. Like, I just know I'm going to be doing it. So, I don't know. I think just over years, I've tried to just achieve a healthy lifestyle, just baseline. And so far, it's been working. So, I'm just going to keep, doing what I'm doing.
Keep trucking.
Yeah. I think if any message from this podcast that I got is, like, find a hobby that you love and find something that challenges you.
Yeah.
I think, like, that's what you've done is, like, you've just found something that, like, keeps you mentally engaged.
Yeah. I'm obsessed with getting better.
Yeah.
And if you start hating something, you can pivot.
On.
Find something else. If it's not serving your mental health, find something else that can give you the same benefits, but aren't making you miserable.
For sure.
Yeah, I think, sorry. I don't know if we were wrapping up, but I have something big to say, like kind of on the soapbox line. Like, when clients come into sometimes we like to zero in on their bad habits. And I think that trying to convince them to stop doing things that they like doing is tough. So if we can just, instead of trying to subtract things they like, we just try to add things and then get them to like these things, then maybe that might be a better path to their goals. People don't want to give up things that they already
Mm-hmm.
do. Mm-hmm. They do them because they like them.
Yeah.
But if we can add something in like a walk or a lifting session or a 10 laps in a swimming pool, and we can find something that they like that they can add instead of subtract, then I think that our chances of success are better.
For sure.
That is big in behavior change too. Like, you don't want to take something out and just have this void. Like, take out your dessert after dinner, then, like, what do you do after dinner? Yeah. But if you, like, consciously are like, I'm going to take a walk after dinner, you add in that walk, well, you're kind of squeezing out dessert over time. Or if you add more habits, you can kind of, you want to drink more water. So in order to drink more water, that's a lot of fluid. You might squeeze out some soda over time without even noticing it.
Yeah. Love that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Knowledge bombs.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot recently.
I love it. Thank you, Jason, so much for your time and hopping on our podcast.
Yeah, you guys rock. Thank you for having me, and thank you for doing this.
Oh,
that's good.
We'll be back next month with maybe Coach Micah. So get ready for that. As always, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next month.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.